You know, every week I think to myself, maybe I'm being too hard on Bad Batch. Every week I get burned. And then the next week comes and I still give it another try, and then I get burned. Hello and welcome to the Movie Men podcast.
The B team?
Yeah, that's...
Are you not into this one, Brady?
That's Carl.
Brady's not into this one.
I just look. So we're here and we're reviewing Bad Batch season 2, episode 4, called Faster. And this, to me, so right off the bat, this is a filler episode. Right. This is not, which seems to be, as of late, the Bad Batch way. Who cares? Who cares about an overarching whatever? Let's just throw together 20 minutes of a bunch of things that could happen, and we'll see what happens. There's, you know what? There's like the odd moment in it where, you know, like we talk about, who is it? There's some character, Maligi or something, warns the crew about Sid. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, like, are you hinting at something? Like, you know, Sid's okay. Like, clearly Sid has this shady past, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. But to me, this is like, of all of the things that Dave Filoni has been a part of that I've consumed, there was a decision made in this episode that was the most boneheaded, moronic, why decision that's ever been made.
Was the decision, let's do pod racers without pod racers?
Exactly. It was, the decision was like, hey, let's do an episode about pod racing. And then someone else was like, or we could expand the universe and call them something different.
do some other kind of racing
that is essentially exactly pod racing, except there's a little bit of gunplay that happens as well. Listen, pod racing, you know what? The prequels have their issues, especially The Phantom Menace. Sure. Pod racing is badass. Pod racing is something that you cannot, like, you can't fault the prequels for, right? Pod racing was cool. And there's absolutely no we know that pod racing exists on more planets than just Tatooine.
Yeah.
We know that pod racing is something that typically, it doesn't happen on like the ritzy planets. It's something that happens on sort of the outer rim kind of scuzzy, low life, welfare kind of planets. But the planet that we're on in this episode doesn't seem to violate that. This is not a fancy planet. It's a freaking dust planet.
Yeah,
it's like the
same. In Legends, pod racing is galactic wide, even in Coruscant. But yeah, this definitely seems, they called this riot racing.
Yeah,
and it's like no rules. You can have weapons. You can have sabotage equipment on your pod. I don't know what.
I don't know. Listen. This is going to be a very short episode because this is essentially all this is. There's no plot furthering. I really don't think there's, unless you can think of something that I'm not thinking of. I don't think that there's really any character development. There's not like this big like, oh, this person really changed.
Yeah.
This is filler through and through, and it's pod racing, except it's not pod racing. For some stupid reason, this would have been a great opportunity to throw in a little bit of fan service, a little bit of fan service, and just give people, you know, we're gonna, like, if we're gonna have a pointless, useless episode where we're still not going to talk about Commander Cody, even though he's clearly the logical storyline moving forward. And so we're just going to have a stupid filler episode that could be like, well, let's at least make this episode about something that we all know and love and care about and think is fun. No.
Except let's change it.
And they didn't even change it enough that like they changed it so little that it just creates this big elephant in the room.
Yeah, pretty much they just took all the rules off of pod racing and got rid of the pods and just made it a single little individual. But like pod racing is called pod racing because the jets are the pods that pull the thing that the person's in. Those are the pods, and then. But yeah, so this is just like capsule racing.
Yeah, which was just like a design change, and I just don't understand. I just don't understand why they wouldn't have just made them pod racers.
Well, I think, I mean,
I was legitimately
devil's advocate. It's a like maybe like this is a little bit more of a seedier underground kind of racing scene because there's no rules. Like Pod racing is an established sport, like
Does it
NASCAR
get much
is
seedier and underground?
This is kind of more like train. What do they call it? Chain train? No, chain car racing. What do they call they do it? They do it around cars here locally in Ontario.
Yeah, the trains.
Like at our local Varney Speedway. They chain three cars together and race around a track, and it's like crazy fun.
But does it get much seedier and underground than pod racing on Tatooine overseen by the Hutts? Like,
well, if it's an I don't think it's canon right now, but if Legends is kind of takes the place of canon, where canon doesn't fill the void of the answer, then like pod racing is an established sport galaxy wide, but just because it happens on Tatooine and the Hutts are running the gambling circuit there doesn't make it less established. I don't know.
There's lots
I'm just
of people
playing
in
devil's
the stands
advocate
here.
at this point, though.
Yeah, no, I
agree with you 100%.
Yeah, there's lots of people in the stands here, so that it seems pretty. This was an advertised event. Like, just I was waiting for there to be a moment. I wanted so desperately for there to be a moment when Tech is riding in his thing, right? And I was like, I don't know, if you're not going to give me pod racing, then at least give me Tech saying, now this is definitely not pod racing.
Yeah.
That would have just been like, because I'm like, it was just, if they had changed it a bunch more, like the racing, we've seen other racing gambling things on Cantobite, mm-hmm. right? In The Last Jedi, they've got those like not horses, horse type things. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like that's,
that was
sure.
more like, and that was more akin to like horse races that we have here on Earth reality.
And so, on Earth. And so I was like, okay, like, of course there's other types of racing in the galaxy, but this was just like, it felt like if it weren't Star Wars, if this weren't a Star Wars property and we had watched something else that did this, like if this was a Star Trek show, we would be here right now talking about what a pod racing ripoff that just was. And we'd be shaming it for that. And so it was just such an elephant in the room the whole time where I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand why it's so similar, but not the same. Like, to me, I don't know. It was it was low hanging fruit that they should have taken. And I think that they didn't take it because they were afraid that it was too low hanging of fruit. But I'm like, no, you're a directionless 20-minute animated Disney Plus show. Take the low hanging fruit. Take what you can.
I think what salvaged some of this episode for me was the introduction of the droid Teo. I thought Teo was hilarious.
Teo's fun.
He's a really fun, like, he's a fun droid that he's so full of himself that he doesn't take any advice. So he played off Tech nicely, which I think is the only redeeming factor. And like you said, there's no character development here. I was hoping because Tech was kind of feeling like the main character of this episode, that we'd get more of what I've been hoping this season would do, is kind of characters breaking the molds of what their established traits. And we didn't get that. Tech saves the day by being smart. Okay, great.
Yeah.
When doesn't he do that?
Yeah.
Like that's his archetype. He's smart. He saves the day by being smart.
Yeah. They're
Okay,
even
good.
watching the race happen on the same little iPad screen things that they watch pod racing on. Like, it's just, I don't know. I was very hurt.
Yeah.
Very hurt. I have high hopes. High hopes for the next episode.
Filler episodes are rarely good to begin with.
Well, but even like Clone Wars didn't, like, after like the very beginning, Clone Wars didn't have that anymore.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with this kind of thought, right? Like, filler episodes are rarely good. So to give us do we know how many episodes this can be? 20?
I don't know. I don't think it's Disney Plus, so it's probably like 12.
Season 1 had 16 episodes.
Yeah.
So we've got a streaming service episode list here, essentially. Like
16. They're doing 16 again.
So streaming services usually have their seasons cap out at like 6 to 10. So this is a streaming service plus a few extra episodes, essentially. Like, we're not getting a full syndicated season of 20 to 30 episodes.
No.
Like, why use a filler? Why use one of your few episodes for filler? Did we really need this?
No.
Right?
But
like,
especially when it's a one-off episode too. Like, there were the odd times where Clone Wars would give us filler storylines, but it was like 4
they still tie
episodes.
back in somehow.
Yeah, and it was
in
like
the future.
4 episodes. So there was still development. There was something for you to sink your teeth into. It was going somewhere, whereas this just didn't.
The only thing this episode gave us was that Sid has a shady past, which we already knew. Like, she's in the underground world. Of course, she's got a shady past. She's heavy into that world. She's got a shady past, and the clones shouldn't trust her. Well, we already knew that too. So what did this episode actually give us in terms of like potential future storylines?
Nothing. I'm gonna say nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty. I don't think we even need to talk about what did you think of this episode, because we obviously both didn't like it.
It was both a fail. It was a fail.
It was definitely the worst episode out of the 4 so far.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to this garbage. I mean, not us. We're talking about garbage. We're now in a waste management show. It would appear. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check out our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all listed below. Patreon, it's a great way to support us. Merch is also a great way to support us. And check out our other episodes. Check. There's lots there. Lots to go around.
We recently did some news.
Yeah, we talked about all the DC
some Mission
stuff.
Impossible stuff. And,
the Mission Impossible stuff. By the time this episode is out, there will be our review of Scream 3.
Ooh.
And things just keep I almost just any day now. We'll have our episode drop where Pete and I finally sit down and talk about Avatar: The Way of Water.
Ooh.
That's a big one. Because it's kind of felt like that's what our podcast has been building towards. Like, we've talked about that a few times.
Since day one.
Well, no. Initially, it was the Batman. Because the first thing we ever talked about on the show was Robert Pattinson being cast as Batman. It was episode 1. We talked about that. And so we kind of were like, once we reached the Batman, we're like, okay, so like, this is like, so now what? What is our purpose? What is our aim? What are we doing? And then we're like, okay, well, I guess now it's Like, and for a little bit there, it was No Time to Die because we did all the 007 films. And that felt like we've done other series where we watch all the films leading into something, but 007 was a hell of an undertaking. And then, yeah, we're like, well, we're always knocking Avatar. Like we're always talking shit about Avatar. So let's, maybe that's the next big thing. So now I don't know. I don't know.
Well, next is Avatar: Way of Fire. So there's that.
Yeah, but that's
the next one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what it's going to be called, but
that's what I thought I read somewhere that that's
it
what
is
it was going to be.
fire related. It is. Yeah, they're going to kind of move through like the different elemental.
Yeah, they're
elemental
just
things.
At this point, if that's the case, at this point they're really just copying Avatar: The Last Airbender.
But what is exciting is, and this doesn't belong on this episode, but James Cameron did disclose that Avatar 5 will take us to Earth. And I'm like, oh, that could be really interesting to see the Na'vi on a planet that we recognize, or to see Earth in the condition that it's in, depleted of its resources and
hair tendril is to connect with Earth life forms.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was about to spoil something from The Way of Water, but you haven't seen it, and it's also it's still in theaters, so I can't be talking about that. But
yeah. Shut up. What are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. Let's goodbye then.